It started with a mansion, one so big it didn't even look real. Security gates, marble floors, gold chandeliers, the kind of place only legends in the music industry could afford. To the world, it was the symbol of success. To those who worked inside, it was something else entirely, because behind those walls, rumors began to grow about the people who came and went at strange hours, about the private parties no cameras were ever allowed to capture, and about the powerful man at the center of it all, Deon Vale. Turned to gold. Every artist he signed became famous overnight. And yet, everyone close to him knew one thing: no one crossed Deon. Not even his best friend, Blake Carter. The two had built their careers together, brothers in every way but blood. Blake was the quiet genius behind Deon's image, the man who handled his business deals, his parties, and his secrets. But the deeper Blake went into Deon's world, the harder it became to tell what was real, and what was darkness hidden behind the fame. Then one night, everything changed. It was supposed to be another celebration, another one of Deon's infamous private gatherings. But when the sun rose the next morning, one person was missing. A young model, last seen entering the mansion hours before midnight. Security footage showed her walking through the main gate. But no one ever saw her leave, and what police discovered in the following hours would unravel one of the most powerful empires in the music industry. This is where the story begins. It was a Friday night in late September, the kind of night where the city lights feel endless, and the air smells like luxury and secrets. Inside Deon Vale's mansion, music pulsed through the walls. The guest list was short: exclusive influencers, producers, models, and a few familiar faces from the industry. Phones were collected at the entrance. No photos. No recordings. It was the rule everyone knew but no one questioned. Among the guests was a 23-year-old aspiring model named Lila Hart. She wasn't famous yet. But she was connected, and more importantly, she had caught Deon's attention. Witnesses said Lila seemed nervous that night. She arrived with two friends but was later seen talking privately with Deon near the pool, laughing one moment, quiet the next. By midnight, her friends couldn't find her. Staff said she had gone upstairs, maybe for a private talk, maybe for something else. But when the music faded and the last guests left around 3 a.m., Lila was nowhere to be found. Deon's team claimed she must have left early. Security guards said the same. But when investigators checked the footage, something didn't add up. Cameras covering the back exit went offline between 12:47 and 1:15 a.m. And in that missing 28-minute window, Lila vanished. The next morning, her friends tried calling her. Her phone went straight to voicemail. By Sunday, a missing person report had been filed. When police arrived at Deon's mansion, they expected cooperation. Instead, they were met with silence and lawyers. Deon was calm, polite, almost rehearsed. He said he barely knew the girl, that she'd been at the party, yes, but had left before midnight. The staff echoed his words. Almost too perfectly. And that was the first red flag. Behind the press statements and legal defenses, people who worked inside the mansion whispered a different story, one about tension, arguments, and a locked guest room that no one was allowed to enter. Within days, the mansion that had once hosted stars and celebrations became a crime scene. By the third day of Lila's disappearance, the media had already caught the story. Model missing after private mansion party. Every headline mentioned Deon Vale's name, the musician, the mogul, the man known for having everything. But this time, something was slipping through the cracks. Investigators began quietly piecing together the final hours before Lila vanished. Her last text message, sent at 12:42 a.m., read only 3 words: "I feel weird." After that, silence. Detectives searched the mansion, but Deon's legal team had already restricted access to most areas. Still, a few small things stood out. A broken glass on the second floor. A faint smudge of what looked like makeup on a white couch. And one single earring, found near the hallway leading to Deon's private studio. But none of it was enough to prove anything. The staff interviews were just as strange. Every statement sounded identical, almost scripted. No one saw Lila leave. No one noticed anything unusual. And yet, one of the housekeepers admitted quietly that she'd heard shouting coming from upstairs around 1 a.m. When police checked the mansion's surveillance system, the footage from that night was incomplete. 2 key cameras, one covering the back stairway, the other near the guest rooms, had been manually disabled. Who turned them off, and why? The investigation took a turn when a local resident, living near the estate, came forward with dashcam footage. At exactly 1:23 a.m. his car camera captured a black SUV leaving the property, its license plate partially visible. The vehicle was registered under Blake Carter, Deon's longtime friend and business partner. When questioned, Blake seemed calm, confident. He said he'd left the party early, after helping staff clean up. He didn't recall seeing Lila after midnight. But his version of events didn't match the timeline the dashcam provided. And yet, without physical evidence, police couldn't push harder. Meanwhile, online theories were spiraling. Fans defended Deon, calling it a witch hunt. Others accused him of covering up something darker. In the middle of it all, one photo surfaced online, an image of Lila taken just hours before she disappeared. Her eyes looked distant. She was smiling, but not really. Behind that photo was a caption that now sent chills through everyone who saw it. Big things coming soon. Manifesting my dreams, Sparkles. Those would be the last words she ever posted. 3 weeks after Lila Hart's disappearance, the silence finally broke. Police confirmed that a body had been found near a wooded area roughly 5 miles from Deon Vale's mansion. It was Lila. Forensic teams sealed off the scene immediately. Her phone was missing, her jewelry gone, and her clothes didn't match what witnesses said she was wearing at the party. But the most disturbing part wasn't what they found, it was what they didn't. There were no signs of a struggle. The autopsy results changed everything. Lila's cause of death was listed as acute intoxication. But toxicology reports revealed traces of an unfamiliar compound, a synthetic mix not found in any recreational drug on record. The report concluded that whatever she had taken, it wasn't voluntary. Detectives turned their attention back to Deon's mansion, demanding access to all security data and electronic records. That's when a small discovery sent chills through the team. At 12:36 a.m. an internal motion sensor in the guest hallway triggered twice, once when Lila entered, and again at 1:02 a.m. No other motion was recorded until 4:11 a.m. when the cleaning staff entered the same corridor. Between those hours, she vanished. Investigators began suspecting that someone inside the house knew more than they were saying. Whispers pointed toward Deon's personal assistant, a woman known only as Mara, who was rumored to have organized the guest list and collected phones that night. When police reached out, Mara had already left the city. Meanwhile, online speculation exploded. Forums filled with theories, some claimed Blake had taken the fall for Deon, others believed the two men had been covering each other for years. Clips of Deon's past interviews resurfaced, moments where he spoke about power, control, and keeping people loyal. Every word was dissected, analyzed, twisted into something darker. In response, Deon released a brief statement through his PR team. "I am heartbroken by the tragedy surrounding Lila's passing. Any implication that I or my team were involved is false. I have fully cooperated with authorities and will continue to do so. But there was one problem." Authorities confirmed that Deon had left the country just 2 days before the autopsy results were made public. Planned business trip, they said. But to the public, it looked like something else. And once again, the truth slipped further into the shadows. As the weeks passed, the investigation shifted from quiet interviews to national headlines. The story of Lila Hart and Deon Vale was everywhere: podcasts, talk shows, even conspiracy YouTubers turned it into content. But for detectives, the noise was making the truth harder to find. Behind closed doors, investigators were re-examining every detail. Phone records showed multiple late-night calls between Blake Carter and Deon on the night Lila vanished, calls that both men failed to mention in their statements. Blake's lawyer claimed the calls were about business, but the timing didn't fit. At 12:39 a.m. the two spoke for nearly 11 minutes, the same window when cameras in the mansion mysteriously went offline. Meanwhile, digital forensics discovered something buried in the deleted data from Lila's cloud account. A short video, only 4 seconds long. It showed her inside a dimly lit hallway, whispering, "I think I shouldn't be here," before the clip cut out. The metadata placed the video at Deon's property, 12:41 a.m. When this detail leaked to the press, everything exploded. News outlets called it the Vale Mansion mystery. Fans were divided, some refused to believe it, while others launched online campaigns demanding answers. Old stories about Deon resurfaced, assistants claiming he was controlling, artists saying they were pressured into silence. Whether true or exaggerated, every post added fuel to the fire. Inside the industry, silence grew. Collaborators quietly unfollowed him. Brands distanced themselves. And Blake Carter, once Deon's most loyal friend, stopped appearing in public altogether. Then, another twist. An anonymous email reached investigators, containing scanned copies of internal security logs from the mansion. The sender claimed to be someone who worked for Deon. The documents showed that Blake's keycard was used at 1:06 a.m. to access the guest hallway, the same area where Lila's earring was found. When police confronted Blake, his composure finally cracked. He said he did go back upstairs that night, just to check something. But when asked what, or who, he was checking on, he went silent. No confession. No denial. Just silence. Online, people began drawing their own conclusions. Was Blake covering for Deon? Or was he the one who went too far, and Deon was protecting him in return? The lines between truth, loyalty, and guilt blurred completely. And as the storm grew, so did the mystery. Because for every rumor that went viral, a real piece of evidence seemed to disappear. The mansion that once glittered with luxury now stood empty, its windows dark, its gates locked. The headlines had faded, the outrage quieted, but for the people who'd lived through it, the echoes never stopped. Officially, the case was closed. No one charged. The coroner ruled the death accidental, citing toxicological evidence and insufficient proof of foul play. But for those who followed the story from the beginning, the word accident didn't feel right. It felt like a cover. Deon Vale returned to social media months later, a new project, a new image, a new message about moving forward. Comments were limited. Likes were few. But his caption said it all. You can't bury the truth. It always finds a way out. Blake Carter disappeared completely. No new posts. No appearances. Just silence, the kind that feels less like peace and more like guilt. For Lila's family, there was no closure. No justice, no answers, no truth they could hold on to. They built a small memorial by the beach she used to visit, a candle that stayed lit, even when the wind blew hardest. And maybe that's the part that hurts the most. Because in a world obsessed with fame, followers, and image, it's always the quiet ones who get lost in the noise. As months turned into years, people forgot the details. But the story, her story, stayed. A reminder that sometimes, the monsters don't hide in the dark. They hide behind the spotlight. And as for what really happened that night, no one knows. Maybe no one ever will. Because in the end, truth isn't always found in evidence or headlines. Sometimes, it lives in the shadows between both. And that is where the Untold scene ends tonight.